Good evening and welcome to the Mancunian Way for another post-match show of City tearing Scousers apart again. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good
evening, Martin.
morning.
Evening, morning.
You wouldn't know, Rich.
I know.
Like he's just coming out of twilight.
I'm not sure why. It must be because the clocks have gone back. We're just living in twilight now in the morning.
Yeah, Graham Potter has gone.
So
Let's not
Brendan
feel
Rodgers.
sorry for him. He's just got an absolute windfall of a payout. Hello, PD. Great result. Yes, you got to love it when you beat those as well, mate. So well done on Newcastle. Hello, Justin. Jack Lee, what a performance. Pep and the fans, we've done ourselves proud. Don't know whether we go down that road tonight. Jack Grealish, wow, take a bow on that recovery and then the equaliser. Maybe it's me. Don't know who that even is. He joined us on the other stream. But anyway, good evening. I don't do that, by the way. Yeah, bit weird. Alan on it too. No, we're giving Alan and Liverpool streams don't go well together. So we've kind of left it. We'll bring Alan back on the next one. We just need to give Alan.
I wanted to know how he was going to feel negative about that.
Alan, Rich, you should have seen the WhatsApp messages I was getting yesterday.
Alan finds a way.
Have you thought
no. It weren't negative. It was just back on his Liverpool run.
Well, yeah.
That's why we thought. That's why I went, nah, believing that one at the minute. I'm leaving.
Martin,
I don't think he would have said anything, but I don't want to go down that road.
A clock is right twice a day.
So what's wrong with Alan then?
Who's on another channel? Yeah, Vader will be joining us soon. Yeah, tearing. Evening, Andy. Thank you, mate, for joining us. Brian Gardner, good evening. Ozzy saying hello to everyone. Absolute state of LFC. Well, we'll get into that tonight. Who do you hate more, United or Liverpool? Always be United for me. Always.
Yeah.
Always be United. Andy both, which is fine. I get it. Good evening, Thief. I'm just saying hello to each other. Got me singing the blues. City win, United lose. No, just a matter. I know they've got games in hand, so let's not get giddy on the drop to fourth because they have still got. I think is it 2 games in hand.
Yeah. Massive result for Newcastle, though.
But it would be hilarious considering they were in a title race a month ago.
Huge result for Newcastle. I mean, because they hadn't had the best run of form. So to get that result for them, especially with Liverpool United losing, I think that's fantastic. I mean,
I do apologise. I've been on other streams this evening. I've been in and out of everywhere. Because this is why we don't always do a Sunday night because everyone else is doing Sunday night. So we've had to readjust and jig around.
Do you think there's going to be a massive reaction from the Premier League now that there's oil clubs 1, 2, and 3?
Who?
Well, you've got Arsenal there, you've got City, and you've got Saudi. All of them oil clubs.
Oh, I thought you meant we were in trouble.
Saudi, I meant Newcastle. So you've got the, it's. I reckon there'll be a bit of a reaction. Could be a breakup in the red cartel.
Hello, Alec Johnson. I'm Martin All Blues in the chat. Yeah, I'm just quickly going through all your comments, then we can get going. I don't like ignoring comments because you all took your time to type in them. That's what matters to us all. Amazing win. Yes, Dash Mesh, absolutely spot on. Rich has got his blue tinted on.
I can just about hear the dog in the background.
You can actually.
Oh, what have you done with the dog?
Oh, the dog's shut in the kitchen. Been a bit vocal this morning. To one of the girls.
That's so unusual.
Yeah. They want their own YouTube channel, so I'm thinking of setting one up.
Please don't mention the coach busting incident. We'll try not to, but it may come up in the try and not go into it. Don't think Alec wants to talk about it. Can't promise Ozzy and Rich might not want to. Evening, Ray. How are you, mate? Evening, Muddy Duck. Hope you are well. I reckon it's Pochettino to Chelsea. We'll see. I know Brendan Rodgers had gone today, but personally, I think he's been screwed over a little bit at Leicester. I think he was majorly screwed over. Given no money and then told to work on a shoestring budget and then sat for his troubles when he had no money to spend. What happens? Greetings, Happy Blues. Yes. Right, let's get into it then. Manchester City smashed Liverpool 4-1. First thing I want to say, did Manchester City play yesterday? Just wondering, because all I've heard about is Liverpool being crap.
Have you?
I've not been a great deal on Manchester City being actually quite decent yesterday.
Fall from grace, isn't it, Martin?
Wasn't really a lot on it, Rich, over here. I'm actually being serious. It was all more about Liverpool being crap.
I don't know. We got a fair bit down here. I mean, certainly on the TV coverage about that now being 7 wins on the trot, and first time we won 4 in the season, on the trot in the league this season. So there's been a fair bit on that, and City really coming good at the right time. I think the thing about Liverpool being crap is, it was the fewest numbers of shots they've had in a Premier League game for 12 years. So, I mean, it was a dreadful performance or a complete domination by City.
Sorry, I'm just sending an SOS out as one post. Anyone seen him? Anyone?
He's probably got his Klopp out banner.
Ozzy, I mean, what is it? Is it just the anti-City media agenda that's come out again?
I don't think it's the anti-City media, really. I think it's more just that Liverpool have just been so bad, really inconsistent. There's that whole thing they were going for 4 titles last season, and then they ended up with 2, and they've fallen off completely a cliff. And it comes down to, doesn't it, that they complain about the midfield, but the midfield, that's still the same midfield that played most of last season. And you can't just turn around and go, well, the rest of the team just aren't performing. Well, come on, be honest. That entire team has just not bothered to show up. They have whinged and moaned because they've not been, they keep being called the best Liverpool team in the Premier League for all time. Klopp the best manager of all time. And they've only got 1 Premier League, 1 Champions League, 1 FA Cup, and a Carabao Cup to show for it. I'm sure the players are kind of, pretty much just...
As the BBC put it, City and Liverpool have shared the last 5 Premier League titles.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, Rich, but it's you can't keep whinging. That team has just been pitiful. They've not. Yesterday was just an awful performance. The second half they just didn't show up, and the attitude has got to be questioned, not only from the players but from Klopp himself. And I could understand. You get the odd idiot who goes on to certain radio channels and streams and says Klopp out, Klopp out. Now I can understand some of them because, what is Klopp doing? They're still invested in heavily into that front line, and you're telling me that they couldn't do something more than yesterday with that front line?
Klopp was admitting they couldn't beat City. I mean, he actually took off players to rest players for the next game and gave up. There wasn't actually, after an hour, Klopp surrendered the game I think his players surrendered it after 45. Klopp surrendered the game, and he was focused on Chelsea and Arsenal. I don't think
Klopp... he conceded, didn't he? Let's be honest. He
yeah,
conceded. But even if Rodri had been given that second yellow, that they still couldn't have beat a 10-man team from City. So,
do you not think he did the right thing, though?
What?
I don't think.
Conceding.
Well,
no, to taking some of the players off, because I don't have an issue with taking some of the players.
Well, it would have been a bit like when we beat United 6-1. He could have gone for it, but I suspect if he'd have tried to go for it, we would have just picked them off.
You got to remember they've got a game on Tuesday.
The dominance we had over their defence was huge. Like the second half was one-sided. I said to someone on the weekend that second half, I've never, not since the 80s when Liverpool was beating us 5-0, have I seen such a one-sided half of football between City and Liverpool.
I'll do one better there, Rich.
Saw a lot of those as a kid, but we were getting beaten by.
Do you want better there,
game
Rich?
though? For the entire game though, Rich, we had 68%.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire game.
And it was 68% against a 10-man back line. It was 68%, which is unheard of.
The possession thing I don't sort of go into anymore ever since we went to Arsenal and have 36% possession and smacked them 3-1.
No, but what I'm saying is you look at the last few fixtures between Liverpool and City, they have been the titans of clashes, haven't they? It's been just absolutely just the titans clashing. It's been heavy metal football. It's been, yellow cards, red cards. It's been major intensive, and then to go from them just giving
to training,
you
we
can't.
Just
if I was a Liverpool fan, I would be absolutely livid right now, because you cannot go out there and just show no effort at all.
Yeah.
Because you keep hearing it from Liverpool fans. It means everything to wear that shirt, and if they're not putting any effort in, they can. I think Liverpool fans can concede and say, if they lose to the better team, fair enough. But if the players don't put in the effort, that's even worse. And I think even we can agree with that.
Yeah, and honestly, Virgil van Dijk looked like he'd won a KFC competition to, if you free parking bucket, you get to play for Liverpool.
I had no fear yesterday. This is why I was saying the other night, I thought we'd win about 3-1. I had no fear.
But why is that though, Martin?
Because I looked at Liverpool team and they're not the same Liverpool team. They've got no midfield whatsoever. No midfield whatsoever.
But the thing
that
is,
midfield is done.
The fullbacks are gone. I mean,
fullbacks are done completely. Van Dijk has not been Van Dijk since he come back from that injury.
Van Dijk was strolling around like he could just.
Salah's been crap all season. I had no worries about them at all. I
can't agree with that, Martin.
Salah always.
Who were you scared of yesterday?
No. What I mean is that you can't turn around and say that these players like Trent Alexander-Arnold, Robinson, Van Dijk, and a few others are done, because these players. Well, I'm saying they are. What I'm saying is that these players were going for 4 titles last season, and they've completely, utterly just conceded the league, conceded the Champions League, conceded the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup. They're conceding now their top 4 position. I mean, what is going on? Do you know what I mean? You can't just suddenly kind of go, we're giving up. Let's hope next season's better.
Well,
they gave
up on that. They gave up on that game. I mean, the one thing I'd probably, say is, I think Arnold has always been an absolutely terrible defender. I think we've all said that. But with Liverpool as a team on the front foot, he could get away with being a terrible defender in a lot of games and have an impact going forwards. But and Robertson too is vastly overrated as a defender, because of what happens when Liverpool are on the front foot. And I think what we saw yesterday is the defensive quality of Liverpool's fullbacks as defenders. And this is why, time and time again, I've said Kyle Walker for the last 5 years has been the best fullback in the Premier League, over pretty much since he signed for us. And, that's because he can defend. And when it actually matters, he can defend. What we saw with the two greatest fullbacks in the world, trademark, was what they are like as defenders. And they don't make good decisions. They don't go with the right player. They give up. They, when they get flustered defensively, they lose their offensive ability and start misplacing passes. I mean, it really was, a lesson in just, if you've taken the intensity out of their game and you've taken their press and energy out of the game, their defense is a paper tiger. It really is. I mean, Van Dijk is strolling around now like he doesn't want to get his shorts dirty. Like he can just, it's almost like he doesn't feel he has to tackle or block or do anything. He just has to stroll around being Van Dijk and he'll keep a clean sheet. And he really needs someone to give him an absolute rocket about.
I don't think he's been the same since that injury.
No, he hasn't.
When you get ligaments, you don't always come back.
I agree with that, but that doesn't mean that you have to just stroll around thinking.
No, I agree with that. But
just by being there, things happen. You have to.
Yesterday was not a one-off. This is my point. Yeah. Yesterday was not a one-off.
Oh, no, it's been all
season.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Don't ever get hyped by smashing United 7-0. What do you do? Every dog has his day. Liverpool have been crap all season. From minute one.
That was an indictment of United.
That was how bad United were.
Liverpool, and Real Madrid.
Do you know we've got the second worst away record in the whole league, statistically. The second worst away record. They've conceded the second bottom in chances conceded per game. It is a joke what they're watching at the minute. And I agree with us there. But the reason I wasn't scared of, because that ain't the Liverpool of last season.
No, I mean, I don't mean I was scared of them, but that's the thing, isn't it, though, Martin? It's this team is just not being managed. Now, if I was Klopp, I would be. You're saying that some of these players aren't good enough. Then why isn't he kind of getting the players that are on the bench out on the field and giving them a chance to say, these players aren't doing it. You do something about it. He hasn't done that. He's not even tried.
The owners haven't done what they need to do there.
But I'm not sure I agree with that, man. You look at what they've spent on
the bloody hell, Rich. They're talking about giving James Milner at 130.
Yeah, but you can't go and sign Nunes. You can't let Mane go on free. Sign Nunes. Let Firmino go on free. Sign Diaz. Oh, sorry, for 30 million or whatever. He went on a pittance. Firmino's going on a free. They signed Diaz for what? 40 million. They signed Nunes for 80, 90 million. They've signed, Jota for 45 million. Gakpo for 55, whatever. So they have gone and spent the best part of 300 million on their front line and done that when they already had, admittedly, Firmino's maybe not he was, but they already had, Mane, Salah, Firmino. They already had a good attack and they had some young players. They went and spent all that money on that. And, a lot of money on their defence, and they've completely ignored the midfield, thinking that, I don't know whether they thought Keita was going to come good or Oxlade-Chamberlain was going to come good or what they thought, but, and all that's happened really midfield, I guess they've had Thiago out, and Fabinho has had one of, he's dropped off a cliff in terms of his form like Van Dijk has. Like Fabinho's dropped off a cliff shockingly in that they were all talking about Fabinho, up there with the best defensive midfielders in the world. And I don't think you've heard a Scouser even mention the name Fabinho this season. So, there's been a drop-off in form, but I don't think we can just blame their owners. I think you can blame the football director or Klopp or whoever signs the players. Because if you need midfielders, you don't go and sign 4 attackers.
Yeah, no, that's my point, yeah. They've spent money in the wrong areas.
Yeah.
They didn't need forwards. Gakpo was not a necessity when they already had Darwin Núñez. And they had Luis coming back from injury. They didn't need to do that one.
What they should have gone out and spent that money on a midfielder.
Now, the trouble is, But my whole point is, I thought Manchester City. I mean, people have said Liverpool were in the game for one shot. They were in the game.
Yeah,
they were in the game by result or by the scoreline only. Because City was battering them from minute one. City were all over them from minute one. Minute one, they were at them, and they didn't stop.
Yeah, 2 good attacks Liverpool had.
Yeah, and the thing was,
4
the
shots.
goal they got,
4 shots.
The goal they got was partly my concern on some of the team when we saw it.
It's a good finish.
Because I was surprised.
It was a very good finish.
Yeah, no,
he held it up really well and laid it up, and Salah.
Yeah, no, Rich, we'll talk about the build-up from our point of view in terms of. Now, one thing I don't believe, I don't think it was all Akanji's fault, their goal. I think Aki pushing up as far as he went didn't help, because Akanji and Diaz had to go and move into that space then. So the ball goes over the top, because Ake's gone a little bit, forward a little bit. Then what's happened is those two have gone to cover the space. Akanji's played, hasn't pushed up quick enough. Jota's onside. And as you say, Rich, no goalkeeper saving that. It was a delightful finish in the top end.
For the rest of the game, they tended to always have 3 together. And that was one point. Stones and Ake had both gone, leaving 2, covering the whole back. And I think after that, they tweaked it, and we didn't seem to ever have less than 3 up against their attack. And once we had less than 3, once we had 3, we were, they didn't really get a look in. And that's the thing. And the other
better side on the day would have had better luck. Do you know what I mean? I think that's something going forward Pep needs to kind of look at to make sure that, against like a team like Bayern, that we need to worry about that more from, is that you don't get caught out. I think because that has been something that has persisted like through most of the season with us, is we have been acceptable to those type of goals.
Yeah, because most of the game, I think Akanji got a bit of the blame because he was probably about a metre behind Diaz, and Diaz had played Jota offside, but Akanji had played him on. But after that, the offside line, they were pretty bloody good with it for the whole of the rest of the game. I mean, I don't know what happened there, whether Ake was supposed to be back or whether Stones was supposed to be back, or whether Liverpool had just exploited City being too offensive. But, after that, there was one break where Grealish got back. He did his moment like he did against Arsenal. And after, and I think in a way, that also lifted the team, because the idea that Jack Grealish can run down Mo Salah and stop them, I think would have been a huge fillip to the City side, because it suddenly showed that their break isn't quite as dangerous if we have cover.
Let's talk about Sir Jack. Now, people have said to me, "Oh, do you love him?" Yeah, I do love him. I think he's a very, very good footballer. Always have faith in him. But people have said to me, "Well, that was, not seeing him play like that. He's been playing like that for months." The only thing that you got yesterday more than you got the other games was he scored.
Yeah, I think the other thing yesterday.
Come on.
Well, I think yesterday he's played like that, but against better right backs, and where therefore he's had slightly less change. I think him playing like that, but against Arnold, really just exposed Arnold for exactly why he can't get in the England team.
Yeah, well, Pep exploited that weakness, didn't he, with the formation, and the players that he put on the pitch, because that's where they targeted that area quite a lot, didn't they?
All game we had an overload. We had 5 against 4. We went 3-2-5 pretty much for large chunks of the game offensively, and the amount of times that Liverpool didn't have a midfielder covering with their back 4, and we had an overload. And what that meant was time after time, either, you had Grealish and De Bruyne against Arnold on that side, or Alvarez coming across, or you had Mahrez and De Bruyne, or Mahrez and Alvarez, on the other side. The amount of times was staggering that Liverpool just allowed a 5 against 4. Like, we're normally used to playing 5 against 8 and having, an overload of defenders coming in everywhere. But Liverpool, and bearing in mind we were in their half the whole time, I'm not sure what the other 6 players were doing a lot of the time, because you're kind of looking and you're thinking you're all in Liverpool's half. City got 68 possession, and yet we keep getting 5 against 4, and that's on the manager, surely. But I think two other things I'll say about Jackie, apart from those. One, I think he's got his confidence. You can just see in the interviews after the game that even until a couple of months ago, he was doubting himself. He was talking about the assists he hadn't got or the goals he hadn't got. Whereas now he's playing with confidence. So he's actually brave enough to try things. He's running into the box more. He's attacking more. He's being slightly braver with passes. Whereas 6 months ago, to be fair, he was running, turning around and passing backwards. So, that must be confidence. Or the other possibility is that Cancelo not playing at all, and we talked about this early in the season, Cancelo being right up on Foden or Grealish, Cancelo not being there, maybe that's giving him the space. Maybe that's giving him the room to actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, his performance yesterday was immense. I mean, yes, we've all said that he's been putting them in, but it just felt like yesterday was just, I think he shut a lot of people up even more so. I think he was fantastic.
Some have had a go at him still today.
Well, Alan's not on, so he can't have a go tonight. But yeah, no, I mean, I think it was the big thing for me wasn't just the assists and the goal, but as you mentioned before, Rich, it was the defense against Mo Salah, and potentially stopping a goal that we could have conceded. It was that kind of display that I think a lot of people took up notice, even more so. It was just fantastic, and it showed that he's got more than just, more in his locker than people have given him credit for. I mean, for me, that performance was on the level of Bernardo Silva, because he put in such an effort. He ran and ran, and that is something that for me, that he did his job so well yesterday.
And he did it whilst having the squits. I mean, that's the, Did you see his interview afterwards?
Elegantly put.
Where he had, where he had Tommy had to run in at half time to get to the toilet. I mean, so but to be fair, it wasn't just him. Alvarez and Mahrez just roasted Robertson on the other side, and I thought Alvarez had an absolutely magnificent game. He ran everywhere. He had.
I'm going to come on to Alvarez.
Goal. I mean, it was.
The reason I'm going to come on to Alvarez is because it was talked about on the 9320 podcast earlier, and I think it's a great question, especially after yesterday's display.
Can I put in, just before we get on to Alvarez, there is one other player that I'd like to kind of shout out as well, which has not been highlighted very much from what I've seen. It's John Stones. I actually thought John Stones put in a brilliant performance. Yesterday.
You mean when he inverted in our brand new system that everyone said was shit and didn't know what they were doing?
He was an inverted number 10.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
Where he has about 4 touches around their penalty area.
Right now. You two were on here 4 months ago. It's boring. We're going backwards. I don't get it.
Yeah.
No, Martin.
Do you get it now?
Martin, before you get on your high horse.
That wasn't with Stones, was it?
Yeah.
That wasn't with Stones.
No, it wasn't. And
Rich.
That just shows the difference to quality player. It shows the difference Stones made.
Stones has played there before.
Not that often. He was injured for a large chunk of that. When we're not playing well, and there's probably
let Ozzy get it out. He wants to have
there's only been 2 players that I've seen play that position really well. One is Stones and one is Rico. So those are the 2 players that I've seen for a City side.
Okay. Right. Delph wasn't too bad in 17-18 either. Delph did it pretty well.
All right.
Walker, not so
much Walker. But there's times where it does work really well. There are times, though, Martin, where I think, it's not going to work as well. And I think you are going to need someone like Walker to be in the team. But yes, his performance was absolutely outstanding from Stones. I think the job he did was brilliant. And I give him all the plaudits. It's a shame that I don't think a lot of other people have. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of talked about him tonight as well.
Yeah, and I saw on Twitter yesterday one of the main, Barcelona accounts saying, if John Stones is really unlucky, he's had so many injuries. If he hadn't had so many injuries, he'd be seen as one of the best defenders in the world. And my response was, he is one of the best defenders in the world. I don't see a defender in world football who is doing what he can do at the moment. And I think we are seeing the end of an era of a lot of great centre backs who are now finished, and by that I'm not just talking about Van Dijk, but we've had that era of the likes of Ramos, etc., who've Pepe, players who've played 1,000 games and won it all. And I think suddenly there is a bit of a dearth of defenders and really experienced high quality defenders, and Stones is as good as any centre back on the planet.
I think the thing for Stones is that I just think he needs someone beside him like a Diaz. There's been times where we've seen it with Laporte, it just hasn't gelled. And I think with the likes of Diaz, who comes in, who is that commanding kind of centre back that can say go off, get into that position, hold it tight. That is where I think Stones just lacks a little bit, is that his confidence isn't always at the best when he is having to be that person who's
but when he's confident, he is sublime. And and I think that's probably the thing now, is that Pep's almost he's now really focused that our defense is to stop goals and to start the attack from the base, rather than our defenders being in the opposition penalty area. And so at the moment, we're playing 4 good defenders. I mean, there were elements I loved about Cancelo, and offensively, he could be amazing, but he was never, he's never someone like Arnold or Robertson. He's never someone you'd rely on to defend. He's someone you'd, rely on for their offensive capabilities. But now we've got 4 proper defenders playing, and I think the form of Ake has been something that's probably surprised nearly every City fan, in that Ake, his form for club and country, has just taken off. So I guess we're feeling a bit more confident now.
Yeah, I think that back 4 has done so well. I think we have, with the acquisition of the Ake and the others, that it's just been brilliant to see that they've put in such an effort for a lineup that I think most of us just didn't think would work at all. But you're right, Martin, it has worked in certain games, and if this is the way we're going to go, then fine, as long as it works. But again, just brilliant from Stones, and I think he just deserves the plaudits more so today than he's been getting. So
I honestly think that was always planned. If you go back to Real Madrid last year, he played Stones at right back. I always think this, Pep doesn't do things by accident. Pep's had this little thing in his head for a while, like Rich said. Did it with Philip Lam at Bayern. Did it at Barcelona. This has always been his system. Yeah,
he said early on. Yeah, he said early on Stones could be a midfielder. Back in probably 18, 19.
I think that's where Stones will eventually be, the right back to invert into it. It's just keeping him fit. That's the sort of problem. The reason Rico's fitted in so well with it is because he's played it from 7 years old, and he's just fitted in all the way up from under 7s, under 8s, under 9s, and just got all the way up with it. And that's where
he's got the mentality. That's where his
holistic approach helps because it's like Ferguson. Ferguson had the youth team playing the exact same way as the first team. So as soon as they went up, they went straight in and knew what they were doing. There wasn't any major surprises. I suppose you're back to injuries, aren't you, and taking chances. People keep mentioning him, and I want to get this on record. I've never hated Alvarez. Never hated Alvarez. Well, I haven't. All I've ever said is I think it's disrespectful to Aguero to call him Aguero because Aguero is an absolute legend. Tevez is just an idiot.
Seguero or Aves.
No, Tevez is just an idiot and can go and play golf somewhere. I couldn't give two things about Tevez. Thanks very much. You don't disrespect my football club and think you can be called a legend.
No, I quite agree with you. Quite agree with you on that. But I think what
same with Yaya.
His style of play is quite.
Are we on about what you want now? Tevez,
Alvarez. I'm saying Alvarez's style of play.
Let me just explain.
Is a mix of players. He's not an Aguero.
No, this is my issue.
Rich, let him get his agenda out. Okay, let him put his agenda out.
There's no agenda.
He's going to say how magnificent Alvarez was. So.
Exactly.
He was magnificent.
That's not what I've been saying for weeks on him, but we'll let him get to it.
Should I just remove you both and I'll speak, or I'll bring you back so you don't shut up? You know what I mean? It's like bloody hell. Anyway, fingers on lips. That's it. I'll talk to you like the children. Fingers on lips. Arms folded, legs crossed. Sit still, please. Or you'll get a yellow card. Anyway, it's like being back in work. Anyway, listen. Is it me or has he just gone the blur there? What happened there?
I didn't see that.
He looked better looking, I tell you. Anyway,
Martin.
Alvarez. I've never had an issue with Alvarez. My issue with Alvarez is where'd you play him? Where he goes. Because I understand he's come out and said, I knew that Haaland was coming and I'm happy. And Calvin Phillips said the exact same thing about Rodri. What comes out of that is not really what eventually comes out in the wash. As we've seen with Sterling, Cancelo, Jesus and Zinchenko. I'm not playing, pack my bags and bye-bye. And it works for a year or two.
It worked for about 5 or 6 years with those two.
Yeah, it did.
We signed, Jesus in what, late 16, early 17.
Yeah, 2016, 2017.
And he left in 22, so it wasn't.
And he wanted to go long before he did.
Well, he re-signed a contract 2 years before he left. So
here's my point. Can I get to my point?
Yeah, we're just undermining it. That's all.
No. All right then, Rich. If you believe everything we're going to do in the summer, you've still got Mahrez, you've still got Foden, you've still got Grealish. Apparently, he's looking at 2 wide men, one experienced, and the other one I've heard is the guy at Notts Forest, which will be the younger
Welsh lad
in it. Yeah, your mate. What's it called? Ben Summit Johnson. What's it called?
Yeah. Brenton Johnson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Brennan, sorry.
Yeah, they're looking at him as well.
Yeah. Mark Brennan.
Yeah. You've got Perone. Well, if they go and spend the 130 million on Jude, then they might be looking at McAllister as well, and then that replaces your Bernardo and your Gundogan if they leave. Again, where does Alvarez go? This is my problem.
The thing is, though, Martin, you mentioned a couple of players there like Mahrez. Now, Mahrez has been fantastic yet again, but again, he is very hit and miss. At the beginning of the season, I don't think he was brilliant. He's a lot better in the Champions League than he is in the Premier League at times. And he's going to be another year older. You've got to start thinking long term. Do you know what I mean? It's like bringing in Jude Bellingham. Yes, he's coming in for now, but he's also coming in for the future. You've got to think about KDB. He's going to be another year older. His legs are going to be another year of trying to play, 3 games a week, which is just not going to happen. You're going to be losing Bernardo. You're going to be losing Gundo, more likely as well. So you've got to think about where you need to bring in new players, and you've got to bring in fresh blood because it keeps teams moving, it keeps them going. Otherwise, you end up like Liverpool.
Yeah. I mean,
No,
I'd say three things. I'd say a couple of things, Martin. One, firstly, Pep has spent a season working with Alvarez, and I think with any player with Pep, he really likes to understand them and how he can use them in other ways. And so I think first and foremost, we'll probably play 70 games, and I don't think we'd want to start Haaland in more than about 45. So therefore, you start with 20 games as a striker. Without that, I think very often we've seen Haaland, after he scored his 26 goals, pulled after 55 minutes or an hour. So there you've got a third of every game where you potentially need a player. I think we've played with both of them. And I think one thing that Pep's shown throughout his career is he takes a player like Alvarez, who probably is first and foremost a number 9, but, not a big man number 9, but a number 9. And we've seen it with David Villa. We've seen it with Samuel Eto'o. We've seen those players moved and learning to play a right or left forward role. I think Alvarez has got everything. Whilst he hasn't done it perfectly necessarily straight away this season, I think he's got everything in his armory to be able to do that, in a slightly different way to maybe that Jack and Riyad play it. But I think he's got every tool in his armory to do that. So I think even if, we don't get injuries, I think, he's going to start the best part of 40 games or, and probably take part in 50 plus games. So I don't think there is a massive problem.
Who's going to take part in 50 games?
I think Alvarez will, even if Haaland doesn't get any substantial injuries. Of course he will. He'll start 20-25 games. Another 10 games probably starting playing.
Right, here's a question for you, Rich. How many games?
About 20 games.
How many Premier League games has Haaland played this year, Rich?
How many?
I've been involved in.
Well, what if Haaland? I would imagine about 24,
26.
26.
Out of 28.
And Alvarez has started
Carabao Cup games.
Started 16 games, hasn't he? In all.
Oh, no, not in the Premier League. Talk about Carabao Cup.
Yeah. So Alvarez started 16.
You've also got the FA Cup as well, Martin. You've also got, the beginning of the Champions League.
Players don't want FA Cup, Carabao Cup.
And when are we? Well, I don't know if I agree about the FA Cup, but when I just think that, and Haaland has had a history of having more injuries than he's probably had this season. But I just think that you're overthinking a problem, and it's a problem.
I'm not Rich. Rich is following what's happened.
Yeah. But it's happened whilst we've won the league. It's happened. Looking back and saying we lost Jesus or we lost Zinchenko, we shouldn't have done. The alternative to that is that we didn't have Jesus and Zinchenko, and had we not had Jesus and Zinchenko, we wouldn't have won those 4 titles because we needed their goals, we needed them to come and play, and we needed them. So,
but there's some point like Sean's put here. Alvarez can fill in anywhere. Why so that when other players are injured or out of form, eventually
he can also start though.
He showed he can start.
Yeah,
He's Haaland's number 1. That's just fact of life.
You've always got to have. You've always got to have an understudy. You've always got to have someone who can come in.
No, I'm telling you, Alvarez is too good to be an understudy.
But the thing is that
he's saying don't try. He's saying we just sell him, get someone rubbish in like Vilcourse and just go like that.
What I've asked the question, as a lot of other city channels are all asking the same problem, is where you play him.
It's not a problem up until he makes it a problem himself. At the moment, there is no signs of Alvarez edging to leave the club. If Alvarez is happy, if he's happy where he is, then that's the main thing right now, mate. It doesn't matter because he will have the games. He will play at times with Haaland because we've seen Pep do it already. He can play that kind of linking striker role where it's like around a number 10 role. we can see that it'll happen. He can play off the left, he can play off the right, and he can play down the middle. He will get his game time. And I think for now, Martin, I think you just need to calm it down and just say, as long as he's happy.
I'm allowed an opinion, mate.
Yeah, calm down.
What you've been saying, calm down.
The end of the day is, when you can see a car crash coming, you try to avoid. You don't sit there.
Martin, yeah, now you definitely need to calm down.
Martin, it's not a car crash. You've got two alternatives. You have a young.
I'll do happy clappy.
No, it's got nothing to do with happy clappy
bullshit.
No. It's not to do with making up problems. City have problems.
You are,
it is,
Martin.
You're making up a problem.
Okay,
are you saying we should,
Martin, three other shows tonight have done the same question. Are they making problems?
Question, Martin.
Are you just trying to be a clever shit?
Martin, question. Just listen to this question, answer it. If you had a time machine, would you go back to 2017 and say, we're not going to sign Jesus, we're not going to sign Zinchenko because they're too good to just be reserves? We won't sign them. We'll sign someone who's happy to be on the bench.
I am bigging Alvarez up. I'm saying Alvarez is too good to be sat on a bench as rotation.
We want to be the best team in world football. We need players on the bench who are too good to be on the bench, because if we don't have players who are too good to be on the bench, we have a drop-off, and then we're not the best team in world football. We need every one of our squad to want to be in that first team. I want Cole Palmer pissed off he's not in the first team. I want Rico Lewis. You need every player wanting to be in that first team, hungry and ready to come in and play at their best. And that is what we need. So we need someone like Alvarez. We need someone like Alvarez.
Right. So if we're going to Austin, would you all say that's probably his best position?
Kevin De Bruyne, right? I don't know.
The number 10 behind the striker.
I said he can play that role.
Because he's not actually an out-and-out striker. He didn't actually play striker for River Plate.
No, but he can play anywhere across that front line, even into the 10 role. We've seen him do it.
So you don't. So what I'm saying is, then, if we go off the signings we're looking at, do you not make them? This is where I'm going with it. You can't drop £130 million on a certain guy, Jude Bellingham, and then go, well, you're going to go there and just sit there because I've got to get Alvarez into this position now.
No, but as we've said, Martin, Alvarez can play anywhere on that top right line. Okay? You still need someone of a midfield quality, all right, like a Bellingham, to come in and eventually replace someone like De Bruyne.
Right. That's my point. So would you drop Grealish then for Alvarez right now?
Martin, I think you are. I think you're being so binary that you haven't.
I'm not, Rich.
No. Listen,
no, you are.
My view is City have a first.
There, Rich, going, he played 30 games. How many games has Calvin Phillips played?
Calvin Phillips has been injured most of the season and not deserved to play.
All right,
so it's a totally different case.
For that, well, because I'm sick of hearing about this. He's been injured. Because I'll tell you how long he's actually been.
He's not played well enough to deserve a place. One.
Okay, so let's get to the truth and not Billy.
And Alvarez is playing well enough to deserve a place. That is the difference.
That's what
I want 10 Alvarez's, not 10 Calvin Phillips.
Rich, I'm agreeing with you and Ozzy. I'm saying this is my point. I'm agreeing.
Why is it a problem having a good
why is it a problem? You agree with us?
Who deserves first team football? There's problems. Calvin Phillips is a problem because we've got a good player who isn't in form or fitness or anything to be able to step up and play. That is a problem because if we have an injury to Rodri, there is going to be a massive drop-off. Having Alvarez, not in the first 11 isn't a problem because at the moment we've seen Haaland gets an injury. Alvarez can come in and do a bloody fantastic job. So I'm not worried about Alvarez. I'm worried about Phillips.
Martin, did you have a problem when we had Fernandinho and Rodri in the team?
Apart from Ferner's age.
But apart from his age.
Did I have a problem? I thought, what I know, because I knew Rodri was going to take over Fernandinho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you weren't kind of going, oh, but I can see this car crash coming.
We didn't have 5 other options for that position.
We don't have 5 other options for centre forward.
Foden.
Yeah.
Right, no, can we take the centre forward part away?
Yeah.
Oh, we
take
can
the centre forward part away.
Yeah.
Right.
We have 3 positions. We have 3 positions, and we have Foden, Grealish, Mahrez, Alvarez, Haaland.
And I'll get the appearances up for Grealish and all them this year, because you said they're only going to play 40. That's it. 40 and that's it. They're on the bench.
Yeah, but we haven't got 6 attacking players this year. We've only got 5.
Phil Foden.
Yeah.
Jack Grealish. Riyad Mahrez.
Yeah.
Alvarez.
Yeah.
Haaland.
5.
Bernardo Silva's played on the wing.
He has played, but he's more a midfielder.
Yeah. So count him out.
And
how many times?
Hang on.
Okay, Martin, how many times has he played?
We're allowed to say one plays versatile, but now we've got to count the other guy.
No, but how many times how many times has he played up front this season?
Yeah.
Once, twice. Yeah.
He's played even left back.
Yeah. That's not the question, Martin. How many times has he played up front this season?
Probably about 5 or 6.
And pretty much most of those games he's gone and converted back. Yeah. Martin, in 3 or 4 years' time, if Haaland re-signs his contract for 10 years and carries on being the form he's in and doesn't get injured, then Alvarez could say, I don't like playing over on the right or left. I don't, need to not play. But ultimately, at the moment, it's not a problem. He's happy. He's re-signed a contract. He's doing well. He's ready to come in when we get injuries, because we have, touch wood, offensively at least, been pretty lucky with injuries this year. We've had other years where we've had 3 players out for 4 months in the same position, and we're going to the kids. And, that could happen tomorrow. We could lose Grealish and Mahrez for 3 months, and then suddenly everyone's going to be complaining that we are massively understocked. Like the end of last season, we all thought we've got loads of defenders, and suddenly we couldn't get a defender to play.
Yeah, like the comment says, players have got to rotate, Martin. That's about the game. Because there are more games any other time than there has been in the previous season.
What did we all moan about? What did we all moan about, Pep? Why did we all blame the leaking goals?
The fact that we never were able to play the same team because of injuries.
Hang on. Whoa, let's reverse that one. So we can rotate now, but then when he does it and we can see goals, we moan because we haven't got a stable.
Yeah, but Martin, there's 2 kinds of rotation. This
is what I mean.
No. There's premeditated rotation where Pep looks at the next month and he thinks, who am I going to play Monday, Saturday, Wednesday? Who am I going to rest because we're playing Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday? And Pep thinks about it and makes those calls based on the opponent. And then there's unforced rotation, which is Stones getting injured twice already this year, Diaz being out for a very long time, Laporte being out for a very long time, and Walker being out for quite a long time. And that's forced rotation where, it's not your choice. And so there's a huge...
Rich, I've got the numbers up right now.
But the numbers are...
No, Rich, you said to me they're only going to play 40. There's 7 players already way past that right now.
Well, so that's good. That's good then. That means that there's more chance of...
That's what I'm saying. This rotation thing is a fallacy in certain areas.
It's not.
It is,
Martin, can we talk about football in the Premier League, right? So we don't play the... If we went Martin way and we didn't have Alvarez because he's too good for us and we can't keep him, then we'd do what Liverpool did and ruined Robbie Fowler, ruined Michael Owen and ruined Torres. And that is, we would have played Haaland on Saturday because the game was so important. We couldn't afford not to play Haaland. But we can afford to not play Haaland. So we look at Haaland, we think it wouldn't be a good idea to play him. If we do, there's a fair chance he'll aggravate his injury and we're going to lose him for a month or 2. So we say, right, you go and have a rest for this week. You train on your own. You can have the next week, the next 2 weeks off, because we've got a world-class player who can come in and play and we're not going to drop off. And so we keep our level. We win 4-1. we keep the pressure on in the league. We could have no decent backup for Haaland, in which case we'd have had a choice, either to put someone up front who's not a forward, or to do what we've seen our rivals do time and time again, and that is play players when they shouldn't be playing because they're only 80% fit, and then they get injured again, and their careers get ruined.
Calvin Phillips been fit for over 4 months,
but he hasn't been in form. He hasn't been good enough to get in the team.
Listen, this is my point I'm trying to say. My point is not about Alvarez being bad. The point is, all right.
Well, you're saying he's too good.
Your point has been that he's too good for the team, and that really and truly,
we should let him
we
go.
Can't keep hold of him, and we should let him go.
I've never ever said that, so don't put words in my mouth. Please.
Well, that's pretty much what you're saying. Like, he's too good for the team, and we're going to lose him sooner rather than later. So
you said he's a car crash. You said he's a car crash waiting to happen.
No, I said the situation. Said the situation. If we do what we're going to do in the summer, the situation could become one. Yeah.
I don't agree. I think Mahrez is 33.
Absolutely fine.
Mahrez is 33. Phil Foden can go and play in midfield. I think we need 6.
Phil Foden won't play in midfield.
My view is we need 6 decent players.
Over who?
We need 6 decent players for those 3 positions. We've got 5.
Bellingham goes in ahead of Foden.
You've got to think, Martin. KDB is eventually going to go in the next couple of years. Okay. Gundo's going to go. Bernardo's going to go. That 3 midfielders gone.
Mahrez is going to go.
Prone has not established himself enough in this team, so let's not even go near him.
I'm not. No, Ozzy, I'm not saying he is. We spent money on an Argentine international that we're looking to bring in. So, and by the way, they're looking at 2 centre mids this summer.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, fantastic.
Because we're going to lose at least 1. And we need at least 1 more because of we're understocked this year in attacking midfield. If we've or on the wings, because with Grealish and Foden playing as forwards, we're understocked because we've got
Palmer just isn't up to it right now. He's not getting the game time.
A year somewhere playing every week.
And Mahrez is too inconsistent, and again is another year older. And he's our only winger really. So
outstanding yesterday.
Yeah, but how many times have we criticised him, Martin?
He's been great this year.
I'm not saying that.
He's been great.
This is what I'm saying. You've got Phil Foden. You've got Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish right now wasn't droppable.
But Martin, what I think he's saying, and this is where I kind of disagree a little bit, is it's a bit like if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend who you think's way too good looking for you, or way too intelligent for you, or way too, nice for you, and you say, well, it's not gonna work out because they're way too good, and you make it a problem now for something that may never ever be a problem. And
no.
I feel that's what we're doing with Alvarez.
What I'm saying
is that Alvarez is happy, and let's enjoy it whilst he's happy. And if in the future, in a year's time or 2 years' time or 3 years' time, he does want more football, or he does want, then we do what we did with Jesus. We sell him and we buy the next Jesus or Alvarez.
That's my point. That's what I meant by the car crash. It's all right going. Well,
not a car crash though, Martin.
It's just someone move on.
It happens, Martin. It's football. People move on.
Yeah, selling a player is not a car crash. It's, we'd sell him at a massive profit.
So you don't think potentially lose someone at the potential of Alvarez would be a loss?
It would be a loss, but we've said that about Sterling. We've said that about Sane. These players sometimes
this summer, Laporte goes. Laporte is one of the best centre-backs in world football. He's going to go. Everyone seems to think that's a loss, but it's not a car crash. We bring in the next one.
Same with Bernardo. Bernardo's been one of the best midfielders in the Premier League and in the world, yeah. But it's time for him to go, and we've agreed that.
Time for him to go, sorry.
Bernardo, probably.
Yeah.
We don't want him to, but it seems like...
This is the problem. This is the problem I'm saying. And I said this earlier on. And I know you all don't see it as a problem, and that's fine. When you bring in an Erling Haaland, it's difficult. This is what I said. It was a good and a bad thing with Alvarez.
he's a superstar, Martin. And when you bring in a superstar like an Erling Haaland, there's going to be, the team has to understand that, you're bringing in, what Real Madrid call it, a Galactico. He is the player, okay, like Kevin De Bruyne has been. But the thing is when Kevin De Bruyne came in, he wasn't the player that everyone sees now. Haaland was being talked about, like, he was going to be that 50 odd striker game player. He was going to, be the game changer. He was going to be the superstar. So he is something the players have to accept. And Alvarez seems like he has accepted this and gone, okay, I get it. I knew this was going to happen when I came in. I'm happy to be his understudy. I'm happy to get the game time where I can and when Pep
allows learn from the best manager in the world.
And learn from the best manager. Less from one of the best
managers in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Learn from one of the best strikers in the world right now.
Let me go back to what we said. That's what you two are saying. If Alvarez is happy to play number 2 for a year or two, then fine. If he doesn't get it, we move on. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is, as others have in the comments, and I've seen all night, is we have to find a way to get Alvarez in this team. That was my question going back ages ago. My question wasn't, is Alvarez happy just to sit playing backup? Because
I think
he will cut winner, may not want to sit on his backside for more than a year.
I think Alvarez is plenty good enough to play the Eto'o Villa role.
Over who? Again, back to over who?
Over Mahrez, probably.
Nobody's
actually answering. He can play the role over Mahrez.
No one's actually answering the questions.
I just said he could play over Mahrez.
Yeah, I think he could as well.
But Mahrez is back up.
And Mahrez is 33, and I'm prepared to accept a 33-year-old player.
Who would you say our best front three are right now? I'll change the question. No, Ozzy, you can roll your eyes.
Genuinely, I think at the moment,
I don't think you're quite understanding the question.
At the moment,
I am.
If we're playing the Champions League final tomorrow, everyone was 100% fit and on form. I would pick Foden, Grealish, and Haaland, and Alvarez would be on the bench. If we played the Champions League final tomorrow, and Mahrez would be on the bench.
Ozzy?
Yeah, I agree with Rich.
Right. So back to my. Do you understand where I was getting here? Because I don't think any of you understood where I'm getting.
And after Haaland's got his hat, Alvarez comes on the last half hour of the Champions League final.
People are asking
guys. Rich talking, so I can't hear you, Martin, when Rich is talking. So like one at a time.
What I'm saying is that I agree with what you're saying. In an ideal world, we all rotate and people get injured and they come in. That isn't actually what's happened at Fuller. Grealish has played nearly every game, bar a couple of Champions Leagues when we got qualified. When you say to a player, and Spencer Pryor said this live on a stream, Rich, players don't want them games. They don't want, oh, we're qualified now, come and have 90 minutes. They don't want that. Yeah. That's when they go, see you, lads.
We agree. If it happens game after game after game. But
why did Cancelo leave, Rich?
Because he's a mad ass. He's a bit unprofessional.
I'm not saying footballers aren't mad asses, Rich.
Okay, I'll flip it the other way. If you're saying why is he left? Why hasn't Kevin De Bruyne left when he's been left out?
Because he plays nearly every game, Rich. But
he gets left out of big games and he accepts it and he plays.
Name me a last big game he got left out of.
There was one about 3 or 4 weeks ago. There was one about 3 or 4 weeks ago where he was fit in the Premier League.
Yeah,
big game. Was it Chelsea where he got one of those games? He got left out.
Yeah,
because he wasn't in great form and he didn't throw a strop. You know, I think at the end of the day, if you're left out of every game, every big game, you're gonna think, yeah. But even you know, there are players for games as well. Like Jesus got into a lot of big games in Europe.
The last big game he missed was the Tottenham game.
Was it Tottenham? Oh no, he missed a game only a few months ago.
Rich, that's the only game apart from Bournemouth he's missed.
and Gundo's missed big game. They've missed big games. I mean,
Martin, the biggest headache that this causes.
You're not getting what I'm saying there.
The biggest headache. The biggest headache this causes. The biggest headache this causes is for Pep, okay, and the rest of the backroom staff, because it's them who make the decision on the day which player is going out. Okay, we as fans have not got to worry about this because at the moment everything is hunky dory, everyone is happy, and that is the main thing right now. Apart from the Port. But at the moment, when it comes to Alvarez,
keep it quiet here as we go along, as you're naming the class players that are all moaning.
Martin, what do you right? You've got two choices here because there is only two choices. There is only two choices. You either have top class players on the bench, or you have non-top class players on the bench. Now we could go the Liverpool route, try and start the same 11 every game, and then we'd end up like Liverpool were yesterday, shot because they've burnt out and ruined a team of footballers by overplaying them. Or we can have top class players on the bench, and if we have top class players on the bench, we have to accept sometimes they're going to say, I want more football, I'm going to leave. And if we want to be the best team in the world, we have to have players who want to leave because they haven't got enough football. If not, it means we have to have inferior players on the bench, and then we're not going to be good enough to win.
No, I understand. No, I get that.
We have to do it.
Rich, I'm not saying that. And listen, at the moment, everything's roses. I've asked the question because a lot of people were very impressed with Alvarez at the performance, and it was like, how do we get him in the team? All I ever see on a match day is when Alvarez is not playing, everyone has gone spare. I see it at the stadium. Why is Alvarez not in the team? Why is Alvarez at the team? I said at the very start of the season exactly what you two are saying right now, and I got butchered for it. No, I did. I got butchered for it. Go back, and that's why I was great right now.
That is a brilliant thing, Martin.
I got butchered for what you two are doing right now.
Right. Again, there's two situations in football. One, you can go
around and turn it.
No. Two things in football. One, you can go to the game and say, shit, why the hell is that player playing? They're not good enough. And that's what most fans do. You know, average fan going to a game for most clubs are going there and saying, why is X playing? If City fans are going to a game and saying, why isn't X playing? But then they suddenly realize, well, actually, they're not playing because we've got three top footballers in that position who are playing well. That is what you want. You want to be thinking there's 16 players I want to start on Saturday, and leaving any of those 16 out is a bad thing because they should be playing. They're in form, they're fit, they're top players. What you don't want is 8 footballers who you think are good enough to play, and then you're sticking 3 in because they're not good enough, and you're thinking we need more in the squad. So we have to accept we are now at a level where we want top players not in the starting 11, and we want players fighting to be in that team. We don't want to drop off. We want players stepping in, and we want them keeping their place, and then someone else having to fight and get to a higher level to get their place back. We want intensity.
I get that. I get that. I think what's happened here, ladies and gents, we've had a role reversal. These two at the start of the season were very pro Alvarez. I was a bit, let him.
Martin, we are pro Alvarez. We are pro Alvarez.
The bloody mute button. What? Martin, we were pro Alvarez as well, and we all agreed that he needed time to settle into the squad.
I'm going to find the video. I did a video, and I said, "No, Ozzy, can do what you want," because I knew this day would come. I knew it. I knew it would flip like this.
What, the day when you're finally agreeing with Ozzy and me and admitting we're right?
I said in the video.
Shock, all right. I never thought it happened, Rich.
I said, take time. I was on another stream and someone said, the problems you've got with Alvarez is if he starts winning World Cups and starts being top goal scorer and doing everything else, we're going to have a problem in the end. Because it's very hard to then bench that and to keep benching that. And this is why I said at the very beginning, it's a pro and it's a curse that he came with Haaland. The reason why I was getting to it is maybe Alvarez had the opinion of, Maybe Alvarez was told Haaland's got a release clause and he might not be here in 2 years. Hang around for 2 years, play the patient lad. You become the number one guy.
But that could still happen.
I don't know. I know now it's not because come out, Pep signed his deal. And
yeah, but what I'm saying though is, Martin, is it may come that Haaland turns around and goes, I want out. That could happen.
And it may come that Pep, the best coach in the world, thinks, actually, I'm not going to go for that Mahrez type role. I'm going to go for the Alvarez type role, playing like Eto or Villa did.
Listen, I'm only going because of some of the stuff.
And we have Haaland and Alvarez playing together week in, week out.
Like I said, I've been told certain players are going far. If we get them, Pep's going to have a bloody headache. Pep's right back to where he was.
But that's
2 years ago.
That's his job.
No.
2 years ago. 2 years ago, where we won the league.
What happened 2 years ago, Mark? We won the league.
We won the league.
Came close to win the Champions League.
Yeah.
And what did Pep say? What was his quote? I'll never go back to having that because it's too much of a headache.
You've got to take stuff that Pep sometimes says with a pinch of salt. He's not going to tell the media exactly what's going on in his head, Martin.
Anyway, let's get off Alvarez.
Yeah. Pep says that, though, Martin. In all honesty, Pep says that as a message to the players he's left out that he thinks they're good enough and he hates leaving them out.
Anyway, you're
get
right,
the Tomo from Brighton.
Let's move on.
Let's talk about beating Scousers. Let's talk about beating Scousers. Let's talk about the match. Let's talk about the form of the other players. Let's talk about.
And he's got to play two up top, Alec, and he never does that.
But he could.
Yeah.
When has he played two up top, Rich? Ever in his managerial career? Please tell me.
He hasn't really played two up top.
Thank you very much. There we go.
But he has played players like Alvarez consistently wide of a number 9. So
you dropping Foden or Grealish?
I will sometimes.
You're not listening.
But I am, yes, because Foden is not going to start 70 games. Foden and Foden is not going to start 70 games. Haaland isn't going to start 70 games. They are going to get injuries. We are going to get worse injuries than this year.
Alan, I wasn't like everyone else who watched 5 minutes on YouTube and then suddenly decide everyone's a world-class player on YouTube, Alan. I know you watch 5 minutes of YouTube and everyone becomes a superstar.
But
stick Rich and Ozzy 5 minutes on YouTube and look like the great football analysis guys.
To be fair, Martin, you didn't need to watch him on YouTube. You could watch him in international football in the Copa Libertadores or anything else.
Yeah, because you stayed up every game doing that, didn't you, Rich?
I saw him play for Argentina. So
this is what I mean.
This is the point. He's not just
everyone's a bloody expert on players.
No, but it's not like Georgie Samaras is a YouTube player, someone who played in a I don't watch the Eredivisie, however you pronounce it, every week. So he was
this is an example, Rich and Ozzy, of someone jumping into a conversation 35 minutes late into it and not listening.
It's okay.
Thank you for your super chat.
Martin, don't discourage super chats. Just encourage, I think.
Love the super chat, Alan.
Keep banging it in. Keep banging these comments in.
Keep banging them in.
Fully agree with you. Fully agree.
He'll start his Scouser stuff.
We should be talking about this last night.
More. I have to politely tell him to shut up.
We should be talking a bit more about the game though. We've talked.
Go on then. I only asked about Alvarez and you bloody World War III did. Right.
Because Alvarez is fantastic and I love having him.
I'm not denying that.
Well, Mark, you've had your agenda for tonight. Let's move on.
Jesus Christ. Right.
Yeah, poor Ozzy may have been bullied just because
we've been gaslighted so much tonight. It's hurt, Martin.
But have we got a decent song for him yet?
Who?
Alvarez.
No.
That's what we need, a decent song for him.
You have to change that, Martin. Come on. Think of a song.
Well, I'll tell you what then. You guys get a song going up. Oh, sorry, you don't go to the ETIHAD. BB bomb. Let's move on. You sit there with your bloody remote control and your pack of 4A batteries, Richard. And Ozzy, you be quiet. Anyway, game over. Anyway.
I had a phone call last night, Martin, saying that you'd gone to York because you were scared of going to watch against the Scousers.
Who told you that?
Probably the same person who was texting you for 24 hours about.
You know what? Alec Johnson, you read me like a book. You are a superstar. Thank you.
Yeah,
read it, because that's all I'm asking. And
yeah,
you two
we're saying
every house having you cul-de-sac. You bloody
all we're saying is we need to worry about that problem when it's a problem. We've got actual problems today we need to fix rather than that. Now, yes, we should be scouting for the next Alvarez, but we should be scouting like that permanently, because I want every time the next Gabriel Jesus or the next Julian Alvarez comes
only
out,
a joke, mate.
I want them to be signing for City. And I'd yeah. I think there might be a lower league game on at the moment or something that they're watching.
Who keeps changing the name? Martin Horsfield loves. I want to know who this guy is.
Might be, I think it might be Alvarez himself. I think he might be watching.
Why? I praised him tonight. You two are
might be like,
you've had to rotate.
No. We don't want to. We want to have a squad, not a first 11 that doesn't change.
It's 10 minutes ago, you told me KDB missed a big game.
He did. Tottenham. Our hardest game of the season, judging by the way we played against
ladies and gents, thank you very much. Good night. Right. KDB and Mahrez, because I thought they played a massive part in that.
Yeah. And Gundo. And Gundo.
Yeah, and
Gundo is excellent.
Do you remember when we used to really hate that middle three? And it's now like the go-to every single big game we roll out in.
Yeah, it's interesting. It must be the dynamics of, it must be the dynamics of not of the attack and the defense, because I did hate that middle three. It has been better this season, but I do think potentially it's not having Cancelo in, that we have a back four who can all defend, and that maybe takes away some of the weakness of their lack of legs. Or it could be the fact that Grealish isn't playing quite as offensively without Cancelo, that they go back. So I'm thinking, it has to be because of that. We do need more legs in midfield. I would still prefer us to be rotating Gundo and De Bruyne a bit, not having them always having to play the big games together.
Bernardo was chucking, wasn't he?
Bernardo was sick, wasn't he? He spent too much time playing table tennis with Jack, and they both had stomach bugs, I think.
Yeah.
By the way, Ozzy, speaking of thing, this is going to start another thing. Bernardo Silva, who'd been chucking up all for 3 days, got on the pitch before a fit Calvin. Sorry, I was. Did anyone tell me where to go from there?
No,
I think Pep has players he trusts and players he doesn't trust. It's quite clear he doesn't yet trust Phillips. Now, that could change. He's had it with players before. He hasn't trusted them and he's come to trust them. So we'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, Pep does not trust Phillips enough. And
I think that's true.
And I think if Rodri got injured today, Stones or Bernardo or Gundo or someone,
that was going to be my next question.
Phillips, I think.
If Rodri goes down tomorrow and he's out for 4 weeks, who goes in your opinion?
Johnny Stones.
Stones.
I think would be picked now.
Yeah.
I think Stones or Rico.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might have Stones and then Rico playing right back and inverting next to Stones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right. Calvin Phillips has not been on it.
Yes, I did. Saying it. I do feel like I am bullying him, and I'm not.
Well, the thing is that he has been fit, but he's not been trusted. Now, I think that depends what happens into next season. Now, it may be that Pep turns around and says, "This season for you is done privately," and we start fresh next season, and you show them what you've got, because we do need someone who is going to step up. Because yes, we've said like Stones Rico could possibly go into that position, but that leaves other positions weaker. So we do need to have a proper understudy to Rodri. And Phillips, if he wants that, it's his at the moment, but he's got to grab it with both hands, and he hasn't done that.
I got told by a lad who I go on a Premier League review show with, a Newcastle fan, and he does shows on his channel. It's called Baz, and he's quite in the know with Newcastle stuff. Apparently, Newcastle are very, very sweet on Calvin Phillips. Very sweet on him. And they would be prepared to sell Bruno, but it would take a 3-figure sum. So let me throw a scenario at you. 50 million pounds, 50 million plus Calvin would get you Bruno. Would you do
it? What's Bruno like temperamentally? Because for me, it depends. Because Bruno at City, you know, and this is going back to the Alvarez point.
I just need to read this, so I just forgot. I'm going to lose them. Thank you so much, Sub 2. It's only banter, mate. Don't worry, we do this all the time.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's total banter.
Do you know what it is a lot of the time? It's these two ganging up. Do you know what I've had once? People messaging each other privately to say, wind him up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Ozzy and me don't do that. We just
Thank you so much, Alan, but no, it's the Liverpool one. You're a naughty boy. You're off the Liverpool streams. Naughty boy, you can be back on Tuesday night when we do part 2 of the agenda. Oh, I can confirm Simon Bullock's coming on Tuesday night, 8 p.m. I've had it confirmed. Boom! Sorry, come on. But
I need it after this stream.
Right, would anyone do that deal? Because he's a CDM, but he can play further forward. We don't need more.
Football-wise, if he's got the right temperament, yes. If he's got a Cancelo temperament, that means he's going to kick his toys out the pram the second he's not in the starting 11, regardless of his form, then no. If he's got the temperament of most of our team, which is when they're not playing well, they realise they don't deserve it and they earn their place back in the team, then yes, because clearly at his best, he looks better than Phillips at his best. And he's in a lot more form. But I think it really does depend on whether he will come in and play the flexible way that City do, except that it's a squad game. If that's the truth, then he's a very good player.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like it does come down to a player accepting the way that Pep manages the team, and that you have to understand you are a cog in a big wheel, and there are exceptions to that, you know, with the likes of KDB and Haaland, but you have to accept that you are coming in to do a role, that you are coming in, and if you are excellent at that role, then more likely you'll be able to stay in that position more often than not. So I think as long as a player is willing to accept that, and I think most players who come into City now have seen what the process is with City. Do you know what I mean? They have to understand that this is what happens. And with the likes of Sterling, with the likes of Sane, the likes of Cancelo, who couldn't accept that, okay, have gone. So you either accept it or you move on, or you don't come at all. Okay? And that deal is a possibility of the one that would possibly work. But again, it comes down to the player has to accept.
I just look at it at the weekend and I look at that 3. And I think Gundogan's going to be one hell of a mess. I genuinely think Gundogan's going to leave now. I think it's too late in the day. I think we'd have heard something by now if he was going to stay, unless it's going to be a very late deal. And I think they're working on too many other deals. The work, because as we all know, we're April time. Anyone who thinks you hit May, June and start doing deals, no.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because
this is when the deals are getting done.
Yeah. I would love.
They will have had to have said to Gundogan by now, are you going to stay? Because we need to go to this guy if you're not. They would have had to have pivoted at one point. They can't sit for Gundogan to sit in May and go, I might stay, I might not. I'll tell you in May. No good, because he might have pissed off and gone somewhere else by May time.
Yeah, no, I think
this is the way football works.
I think he's good enough for this level, but I would want him to start playing possibly fewer games because we do need more. You know, we need more pace, we need more energy, we need to start recycling the team. And you know, if Gundogan was comfortable to start to ease out a bit and stay, then that would be great. But if I was Gundogan, honestly, if I was Gundogan, I think he could play like Kroos or Modric does for another 5 years in a league that's easier than the Premier League. So if I was Gundogan, I would probably be looking at Spain or Italy, you know, playing for titles there and, you know, getting another 5 years at the top level out. If I was City, I'd be like, Gundogan, can you stay? You might only start 35 games, but we want your experience. We want your quality. We want you to stay. But at his stage of career, he's not 21 like Alvarez. He's 32 now, isn't he? Or is he 32? At his stage, he could probably go to Spain, start every week in a lower place league and look like the world.
Okay. Let me
so
throw this
he might be thinking that.
Would you jeopardise a potential deal with somebody else to keep Gundogan stay for another year or so?
Depends who that player. If you're talking about Bellingham or Gundogan,
you know what I'm talking about, Rich.
If you're talking Bellingham or Gundogan, I'd have to say, and I'm not saying they're necessarily replacements, I'd have to say go for Bellingham if you've got a chance to get someone who looks like they could be one of the
this is my thing.
You have to make that call. But if you're talking about the second midfielder, and we're talking about a 40
I'm talking like a
midfielder,
McAllister, or because that's who they've been like the McAllister or the kid at wherever. It's what do you do?
I don't feel that I've seen enough of McAllister to really know how good he is.
The only reason I ask
in the World Cup he looked great, but so did Enzo. And then
I don't know what Ozzy thinks. I have to read this out again. I love super chats, but they just
Martin just
Tim went away for a nice break at the weekend because my mum and dad are very ill. I needed to go and have a rest mentally. So that's why. Martin was not too scared, but thank you for the super chat. One reason I asked.
Martin, argue with him, encourage him encourage him to comment more.
Yeah, exactly.
Alan, this is why you're not on the stream.
Alan, if you give us another tenner, maybe we'll get you on.
Yeah. Alan, if you make it 2020, we'll all comment about your comment.
You do realise they're putting money in the channel, so just keep going, fellas. You know what I mean?
But no, I mean, back to your comment, Mark. Honestly, I'm going to have to watch a bit more McAllister over the next.
It might not be McAllister. I'm just thinking of deals.
Yeah, I'd like to see more of him, to be honest.
Yeah, I think with McAllister,
but
he's one of those players who had a very good World Cup. Before that, though, was mentioned now and again. Yeah, it was mentioned now and again, but I think he's one of those players that the World Cup has elevated. And it's like now he's like that Rodriguez who played for Real Madrid and then went to Everton, and that was, he's one of those type of players that yes, he could be probably very good, but there's a potential that he's overhyped for what he is. And I haven't seen enough of him to really comment myself, but I just feel that his star is quite high at the moment. I think it's dipped a little bit. And I think he's more likely to go to somewhere like Liverpool just because they're going to spend on a midfield. They're going to be looking at 40-50 million to bring in someone to bulk them up, to give them that extra depth. And I think that's what McAllister is. He's a depth player, and he's not a Jude Bellingham.
Jesus, I just realised something. Rodri's missed one game all season.
Yeah.
He started every other one.
Yeah, no, that is
that's worrying.
You see, that's the problem. Alvarez isn't a problem, not having that player ready to go. Although maybe Stones is that player now. Do you know a little thing about Brighton? I saw a stat.
That's a car crash, Martin, by the way.
Do you know a little stat about Brighton? And why I reckon some of their,
I just actually what I was saying earlier, actually.
Brighton were the first team this weekend. Brighton were the first team in Premier League history that all 10 outfield players had 2 or more attempts. So 10 players that started, excluding the goalkeeper, had more than 2 or more attempts on goal. First time in Premier League history. Total football. So you've got, so they are a team who, if we get players in for them, are playing football with that philosophy, that we have. I mean, I think I'd say, in all honesty, after Arsenal and City, they play by far the best football in the Premier League. So, and they seem to have an absolute knack using Tony Bloom's data company of picking up players who time and time again are doing a fantastic job.
There's a comment come from Ray saying that, look at Cucurella. Looked amazing for Brighton, went for 60, 70 million to Chelsea, and then what's he done?
But has anyone Chelsea signed this year, 700 million of signings, not one of them, I would say, has really come in and looked great.
I don't know why Alan's put I live in Oldham, because I don't live in Oldham. And Alan, I don't think it's really right. Stick him where people live out on the street, mate.
Yeah.
Really?
He lives in Glodwick.
There's banter, and then there's banter. So don't piss me off, because you'll be back off the channel in about 3 seconds.
So I can't mention the Glodwick.
I'm not joking about
Don't mention Glodwick, Rich. Don't mention it.
No, I just don't think putting people's unless you want me to say where you live, Oz.
Tasmania. I know.
If that's the road we're going down tonight.
Down under.
Yeah, it wasn't Ozzy, it was Alan.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't confuse them.
Better looking.
A lot younger. Ozzy could be Alan's son.
Whoa. Scary thought.
Right, anyway, but thank you for the super chat, Alan. Anyway, but I don't live in Oldham, so I don't know why you put that. But anyway.
Alvarez was a CFG signing, according to Alan. I couldn't quite read it because it went very quick.
No, CFG, because me and Rob said that Alvarez was going to go into the CFG at first. But,
yeah, he's been a very
Alan was an expert in Alvarez.
Yeah, Alvarez has been undoubtedly a pleasant surprise, even for people who thought he might come into it. Like I thought he might play a bit, but he's been a far better player than I thought. I just wish we'd got Enzo at the same time and done them both for 25.
Yeah.
Mind you, you could spend 14 million on Alvarez or 85 million on Nunes. There's levels in this game.
Should we try and get back to the game there a little bit?
Yeah. Do you think Liverpool are finished? Do you think Klopp finished at Liverpool and this Liverpool side's finished?
I think this Liverpool side is finished in some respects, and I think Klopp, if he doesn't turn it around next season, I think he is gone.
Has he lost the team?
I think that has barely been mentioned, really, that has he lost the dressing room? And I think he has, because the effort, especially from the second half, was just non-existent. And he did nothing on that
7-year itch.
And it doesn't get mentioned enough, though, does it, really?
Mainz,
Dortmund.
Oh, no, he gets praised at Mainz because apparently he had no money and was better at Pep because he took Mainz to wherever he took them.
Do you know what? I shared the stat earlier this season, but, Pep has about a 70% record of winning titles.
I'm just going to chat. I'd love to know.
Conte was about 30-40% of winning titles. And Klopp, I think he's won 3 titles in 27 or 30 years of management. I mean, it's his. I think he wins about 1 title every 9 years. Pep wins 1 title every 18 months. Well, less than every 18 months.
I've got a major question. That result yesterday, for me, and I said this on Thursday, I think that makes us favourites for the title. My eyes. I genuinely believe we'll win the title.
I think there's a good chance that we could. We could go unbeaten for the rest of the league, but I think it does come down to Arsenal right now. That They've got, quite a fixture coming up. They've got what, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Newcastle. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are some interesting.
And us.
And us, of course.
They're
But
flying.
what I'm
Newcastle
saying is,
flying.
yeah, exactly. And after today's win against Manchester United, it's put them on a degree of we can go out and beat the better teams. We can stay in this top 4 race. So Chelsea, at the moment, we don't know what's going to happen with them. Yes, Potter's been sacked, but this can galvanise teams very easily. New manager bounce, blah blah blah. We'll have to see what happens. I think it really does come down to what happens against us. When it comes down to Arsenal versus City, that is where we're going to see the mentality change.
And I think a lot will depend on, they've got 3 games before they play us. They've got West Ham and Liverpool away and Southampton at home. I think, if they...
Not scaring everyone.
Yeah, if they get, if they come into that with 7 or 9 points, then they'll come in confident. I think, in the next 2 games they're playing in the next week or so, they're playing West Ham, Liverpool away. I think if they lose one of those games, then we'll comfortably be favourites. If they come to City having won those 3 games, then I think they'll go into the City game slight favourites. If they drop points in those games, then I think, we will be going into that match at home favourites for the title. I think it's 50-50. Ironically, I feel more confident in Europe this season and less.
Got splinters on his ass.
Well, no, it is. We can't control. If they, Liverpool play like they did second half against us, then they go there, they get a win. Them winning at Anfield would be a huge confidence boost because they've got a record at Anfield pretty much like ours. So that is a really big chance for them to lose. But what Liverpool's going to turn up? Second half against City or second half against United? Because
I'm confident.
That's a different team.
Liverpool are a different beast at home.
Yeah, that's very true.
If they were away, Newcastle, I would 100% go, yeah, Liverpool will get beat at Arsenal.
It depends what happens now, though, Martin, because that team is shot. And no one at Liverpool is taking full responsibility. Klopp's not taking responsibility.
After the United game, and look what happened.
I think they're shot because it's us that did it to them. I think that's why there was a lot of like, it was how we did it to them, and they were on that high with the 7 that they put on United, but it was like another reminder of what they were doing last season and where they were at, where we are this season and what we're competing at, and how they still are behind us with that result. I'm still giddy. I'm still loving it. I haven't watched the game for a second time.
Now. Arsenal's next fixture is Liverpool next Sunday.
Yeah.
Then they've got West Ham at home.
Away.
They're dangerous.
West Ham away.
Yeah.
Then they've got Southampton at home. I expect them to beat them. Then it's us.
And then it's Newcastle.
Then they've got Chelsea.
Oh, Chelsea, then Newcastle. Yeah, so that
is
a
point.
brutal period. That is 6 games.
But it's only 3 days between us and Chelsea when they play.
Yeah.
And
I honestly believe if we beat them at the Etihad, I do think we win.
Yeah.
Because I'm of the honest opinion that it's like I was listening to an interview with KDB yesterday, and he said, we know what we have to do. We know we can't slip.
Let me add to that, Trouble Father. When they played at
you're calling me now.
No, it's your channel. I'll say it on your channel. I'll say it respectfully. But on mine, I hesitate. But when they lost to us, they did take a dip. Like they suffered their most losses and draws after playing us. I think after they play us a second time and we're able to win, I think that creeps into now what they have to deal with to close out the season. And it will affect them. That Brighton game is going to be tough. That Chelsea game is going to be tough. That Newcastle game is going to be tough. So the season's far from over, but we do have to beat them. We do have to beat them when we play. Yeah. I want to say I was listening to the show. My wife's asking me, why are you smiling? Because I have an earbud. I'm not wearing it now, but I have an earbud, and I'm just randomly around the house. And she's like, why are you smiling? I'm like, these guys are just going at it. Had me rolling. No, great show. I'm sorry I wasn't able to join earlier. I do apologize. I'm going to do a better job at my show being really short and concise, because I want to make sure that I'm part of this.
I'll explain. Sunday night, we don't normally go live on a Sunday.
Yeah,
and it was just blah, 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 blah. It was partly my fault, but
nah, the vibes have been great, and I want to say this real quick. I want to say this real quick, and I don't know how you're going to be able to do it, but the fact that we slapped up Liverpool, we just heard the Chelsea news, United just lost earlier today. I don't know how you do keep the show short, because there's so many things to laugh and talk about.
We've not even talked about that. Spent 40 minutes talking about
that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
You know what I mean? It was like, every other show tonight talks about how to get Alvarez in the team. I do it, and I get called. Hey, Tim.
We're a special kind of channel, though, Martin. You know this.
That's what happened.
We don't do it like the other channels.
That's what had me laughing. I was enjoying it a lot.
The question is,
no, don't start it again. No. If you mentioned it, we're done.
The Chelsea sacking their manager, to me, says that they think someone who they want as manager is at risk of going to Spurs if they don't sack the manager. So they've sacked a manager so they can get. Is it Nagelsmann? Is it what's the thing? Because to me,
a lot of jobs available.
Chelsea have done that because they want to step in and get
a lot.
They want the up and coming manager, which is Nagelsmann.
Who do Real Madrid want? Because isn't Ancelotti going to Brazil?
Well, there's still rumours of that, but there's no clear that he's leaving. I don't think he'll leave until the end of the.
Yeah, because that's the interesting thing is that there's all this thing that Madrid wants someone in the summer. Tottenham are now after someone. Chelsea, I reckon, have sacked Potter as much to get whoever they want in because they've got a manager they want now. Yeah. So
Alan's back in with his stupid chat. Alan, are you drunk? You just got your credit card out. What's going on here?
Martin, respect for him. We have to win every game. Fully agree. You're spot on, Alan.
No, I'm not saying.
Please give us more of your thoughts.
He's throwing money after money. I just don't want him to come back. Can he have the money back?
Think about it, or he might have like one of those poking machine caps or something.
Thank you, Alan. You have been so generous tonight. But thank you so much.
We do have to win. We have to win.
Is Alan traveling? Is he traveling?
10 games left. We've got to win 9 and draw 1 to win the league.
He's in Australia.
Oh, okay. No, all right.
I reckon we've got to win 9, draw 1, and win the league.
I think 9 wins and a draw, yeah. And I think we could get the draw at Brighton away.
Yeah, maybe save the draw for Brentford when we don't need to win.
No, Brentford will be on the beach. I don't mind Brentford last game. They'll be on flip-flops and on the beach.
Yeah.
So not to play.
Hope so, yeah.
I don't mind Brentford last game. It's the Brighton.
One thing to remember, if Brentford have a chance of top 7 last week, as in it's not guaranteed, they've never played European football. So for them, getting in the top 7 would be quite a big deal. So I think we want Brentford comfortably in the top 7 before they play us. So, or even the top 6 without anything to play for. Because if they have got European football to play for on the last week, it won't be quite as easy as we think. If they're 9th or they're guaranteed top 6, that's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great point. Arsenal had 6 games last year. They needed 1 win. Finished 5th.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that stat or that.
No, it's true. They literally needed 1 win in the last 6, and they literally lost 5 of them.
Wow.
No, they lost them all, didn't they? Did they lose them all or draw 2?
They must have.
To be honest, I wasn't looking that low down the league.
And
I was just focusing on City and Liverpool.
Where did Arsenal's top 4 hopes die?
At Anfield.
Chelsea.
Right.
How these things are written.
I like it.
But I'm told it's already over in Arsenal. Arsenal are comparing their 4-1 win over Leeds to our 4-1 win over Liverpool.
They don't need to do the comparison. They're about to play them. Do it against Liverpool. Let's see.
You made Sparedust laugh, Rick. Tell us more.
Yeah, no, I think Alan is a Alan is a wise football guru.
Oh, nice.
He should be saying,
he's traveling.
More. I'm in Tasmania with my parents and worth every penny to wind up Martin. Great show, boys. Alvarez is class and Dippers are crap. Wise words.
There you go.
And we look forward to more of your thoughts.
Alan, you are missed. You're missed.
Yeah.
Just make sure
sorely missed.
Bring your credit card every time you come. Anyway, you want to see Aussie's beer fund? It's bloody huge.
Has to be.
I see yours is coming along, Martin.
So I
will never get like Aussies.
Another question. We've kind of said Liverpool are busted flush. You know what I've seen this season, which I think is the two teams in transition, City and Liverpool. The difference, I think, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this, is that every game you see Pep trying something different. You see Pep trying to find out what's wrong and change to fix. Pep isn't trying to say, right, we're going to just play the same 11 from last season. We're going to play Laporte, Cancelo, Walker. We're just going to play them back into form. We're going to play the same way. It's going to come good. We're really seeing him try to change things. And he's been, 4 centre-backs, Rico, Lewis, inverted, whatever it is. We've seen him changing it. Klopp, to me, hasn't tried to do too much that different. Klopp, to me, has been just trying to do the same thing again. Mm-hmm. It fails, and then he just tries it again.
And that's why, when you're comparing managers to being the greatest, okay, and we can all say we don't like him, but at the end of the day, he was one of the best managers in the world. Ferguson knew how to recycle a team. Pep knows how to recycle.
No sentiments.
Klopp has not been able to do that. Klopp has had one good team. He's run them into the ground and now hasn't got a plan B on how to rebuild this team. So I think if he can't rebuild this team next season, he will be gone.
Could you imagine Pep keeping Oxlade-Chamberlain? Milner.
Do you know what? I think Pep,
to be in the conference by now.
Yeah. I just wonder whether
Pep made the hard decisions when he came in, didn't he? He got rid of Hart. He's got rid of other players and gone, if you're not going to give me what I need, you're gone. Sterling, gone. Sane, gone. He's not messed around, unlike Klopp, who has kept players around because, they show heart on the sleeve and all this. Sometimes you've just got to be ruthless and go, you're not giving me what I need somebody else, and bring them in.
You know what? This is exactly what you and Rich were saying earlier. The opposite of us. Klopp is literally the 80. We've got A to Z. Klopp never rotates anybody.
Yeah.
Klopp literally does roll out 11s. The trouble is he's done that for 4 years.
5.
And you know what? I asked the question of some Liverpool fans. I'm like, wouldn't incoming players see that track record and have concerns? Because you're playing so hard, the longevity of your career you look at all the players, they look like their careers have been shortened because of his style and how hard he pushes them.
I don't see Jude there. Could you imagine Jude at 19 going to Liverpool? His career will be done at 24.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be burnt out. And that's why, just another reason he's not going.
With Setter, he sits behind KDB for 2 years and sits under the learning tree of Kevin and goes, here's where you're going to learn, sunshine here.
Yeah,
and Kevin goes, that 8/10 role is all yours.
Yeah, I think it's I think you've really got that thing where our criticism of Pep is always he tries too many things. He's always trying new things. He comes up with daft ideas in big games. And I think the criticism of Klopp is that He doesn't try anything different. He just thinks it's the same trick. I think the difference is Pep will do what he does. He'll make mistakes, and then he seems to find the right solution, and then we step up. Whereas with Klopp, are those players just going to play their way back to form?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to play their way back to, being the team they were, or is that actually impossible? Because some of those players are aged or they're fatigued. I think, you see it a bit with Mane, that he's taken time to get his form at Bayern. And I think, to me, they just, when they've lost that power and they've lost that dominance, they've lost that energy, they've lost that pace, they're a busted flush. There's not that much quality behind it. No. So Klopp, what's he going to do? Is he just going to go out and sign players who he thinks are going to be exact replicas for the team he had before and just try and start again doing the same thing? Or is he finally going to do what he's never done in his career and actually change up to adapt? Because I think the other thing that is finding Klopp out a bit is that Premier League managers aren't stupid. There's top quality managers at a lot of clubs in the Premier League, top quality, tacticians, top quality coaches, top quality players. If you don't change, I think you get found out. And I think it's happened to City a bit, which is why Pep's had to change. You've had, the team, teams learning how that they can just bank up defense and frustrate us or catch us on the break. And so we're having to adapt to try and fix what people have found out about us, and we keep changing, and that's why we keep winning the league. Liverpool don't. It's just the same. We'll turn up next week, we'll do the same as last week, and we've lost the last 3. Well, we're just going to try it again until it works.
No, totally, Rich. I think.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, good having you on later.
Good, mate. Go and give Vato a lot of love. I know he's only been on shortly, but he deserves it. We kind of won't be like this next week because we'll move back to our normal time, and we just stop. We've all gone together tonight. So, Alan, again, thank you so much. Interesting one. And this one was thrown out earlier and yesterday. Does City as a team play better with Alvarez than Erling?
I think we played better when we're in form. I think we played really well the last few games, with and without Erling. And I think we play well when the players are confident and in form, and I think that's happening now. So I think we'd have probably played a really good game with Haaland yesterday as well, because I think we've got players in form at the right time. We've got confidence at the right time, and we're taking it seriously at the right time.
Yeah, and I think as well,
and say we're good enough to be good with both.
Yeah, I totally agree with Rich, and I think the other point as well is that when the team is now starting to learn how to play with Haaland, which is one of the criticisms we kind of were a few months ago, where the team just weren't playing with him properly, and we could have said Alvarez would be better in that position right now because he is more of a false number 9, and probably would have worked better, but we persisted, and this is the reward of
honestly,
what we've got.
Imagine Haaland yesterday with 5 against 4 and Van Dijk being that passive.
Getting in behind. Do you know what I mean?
I was saying. I honestly believe, I think if Haaland was fully fit, because I think he was fit.
We might have won by more.
Yeah, I think it would have been demolishing. It could have been 7-8.
And what I mean by fit is I think he was fit. I think City thought with the games coming up, we don't want him to run for 90 minutes. There's a difference between sitting there and jumping up and down and going full pelt against BBD.
Yeah.
They didn't want him to pull that groin big time and then he's bye-bye. Because I know for a fact he was actually training on Friday.
Yeah, and that's the
thing. Didn't want to take the chance. It was just rest
and
out.
That is the beauty.
Rest it.
That is the beauty of having a player like Alvarez who can
Don't
come in.
Shut up, Rich.
It's the beauty of it. It means that Pep, the doctors probably said to Pep, he's fine to play.
As Alex said earlier on,
chance he'll aggravate it.
As Alex and Andrew said earlier, wasn't about that. My question was, how long will Alvarez be happy with that? You just said, never mind, we'll sell him anyway.
He told me 3 or 4 years.
There you go.
Yeah, give me that crystal ball. No, I honestly think yesterday's win, to me, that was the biggest hurdle we had to get over. I know there's still Brighton away, but there was still that game of everyone looked at Liverpool at home and thought, oh, if we can get over that. And it wasn't just over that was the convincers, because I think City have been sold so short this weekend.
I think but it was what team we're going to, what Liverpool team we're going to turn up. Was it going to be the Liverpool team that we turned up at Anfield against, and like the other seasons where they've played, fully power to the metal, that high intense football, against us? It wasn't that. They completely collapsed. They capitulated.
Yeah, and that's what pissed me off. City were not. This was not Liverpool were crap and City just play. I mean, was it the third goal? It was like 50 passes before it.
They were olaying, and that's embarrassing.
We were scoring from the right. We were scoring from the left. We were scoring down the middle. They couldn't deal with us, just full stop. You didn't just have Grealish. You had Mahrez, who turned up. Ramadan Mahrez. When it's Ramadan, Mahrez turns up. The guy just decides to come to the party at Ramadan. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, he's I think he's turned up since the World Cup. I think whatever happened during the World Cup, he had time off, and I think he, whether it was a disappointment of me missing out on the World Cup, Pep suggested he was carrying a few pounds too many, but Mahrez came back, and Mahrez has been.
I think Mahrez always
since January than he was before January.
I think Mahrez always turns up towards the end of the season more than he does at the beginning. He did last season. I'm pretty sure he did the season before that, because we all praised him towards the end of the season.
It's like Paul Dickoff. Paul Dickoff never turned up till March.
Grealish bringing the ball down dead on a touch. Little balls round the corner. Trenton Robinson's head spinning, didn't know which way to go. Yeah. Van Dijk looking like Van Tripe. He didn't have a clue what to do. It was absolutely breathtaking.
Imagine you're a defender playing against City and the ball's coming in, because, it's not just Mahrez probably brings down a ball better than anyone on the planet. Bernardo and Foden aren't far behind. Now Grealish is up there. You've got four players who can bring a ball down better than, you've only got players like Messi who I see bring a ball down like
Wilfred Boney. He used to bring down a ball better than anybody I've ever watched.
Lukaku, he could bring a ball down and knock it 15 metres off his shin.
The end of Ozza. Slandering. Absolute slander there.
Against who? What?
Wilfred
Boney.
No, it was a phony, mate. It wasn't Boney.
I didn't say he was a cracking player. I just said he could bring down a ball better than anyone I've seen.
30 million quid. 30 million quid. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bing madness. What?
Yeah.
I didn't agree with it at the time.
Didn't we sign a player who had malaria? I thought he actually had malaria.
Where are you going with that, Rich?
No. No, I think that when we signed him, he had malaria, and malaria actually affects your fitness for years. You can get, malaria will come back.
I wouldn't rule out.
I think we actually signed him and he was sick, and he I'm not
sure he deserved it. Might not be a Brighton by the time we hit him.
Yeah, he is rated.
He might be in demand in the next week or two.
And if he is, do you reckon they'll go for quarterback?
No, I wouldn't rule out De Zerbi off to Tottenham.
Nagelsmann to Chelsea.
Nagelsmann to Chelsea, and Potter goes back in. Or Brendan Rodgers will go to Brighton.
And what, Potter goes to Leicester?
Yeah. There you go. We just literally ding, 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 dum.
There we go. We sorted it out.
We're literally 3rd of April and 4 jobs in the Premier League are up.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Do you think, another question for you, because I think he's second favourite and third favourite in the betting. Do you think if one of those Premier League clubs offered Sir Vincent a job, he'd take it, or do you think he doesn't think he's ready for it?
I think they offer him. I don't think he'd take it.
Well, I mean, I think it's been said like quite publicly from ex-players that he should not go anywhere near the Spurs job.
Didn't he say in an interview? I'm sure he said, "I won't just jump into any job. If I don't feel ready, I won't go." And you know what else? I'm not sure if he'd ever speak. I think he would actually talk with Pep. I think that he could literally ring Pep up and go, "What do you think?"
I would hope Pep would say the sensible thing. Stay at Burnley, come up with Burnley, see what you can do in the Premier League with Burnley, sorry.
Suicide to go to Tottenham.
It is. It's massive suicide. I don't understand anybody right now with proper credentials for going anywhere near.
You know why we didn't do that, FIFA? Because it was a present to Manuel Pellegrini. Because the board had agreed Pablo Dybala, but Pellegrini wanted Wilfred Bona. And because he was a brand new manager, they wanted to honour his wishes.
Yeah. I think
we ended up with Wilfred Bona, which, to be fair, he was the top goal scorer in that calendar year for Swansea.
Do you know what? I reckon more managers would look at Spurs and you think, because we look at Spurs from the Premier League fan, where Spurs are, well, they are just Spurs, aren't they? They're the only team who can come forward in a two-horse race. But you know, from overseas, if you look at Spurs, you are looking at a team who are, you know, if they have half decent results, they'll get next year's Champions League. They're not
we're gonna have to wrap up.
Sitting in a better position than Liverpool or Chelsea or others. So, you know, and they should have good players. They should have, you know, more going for them than they do. So I'm not sure that I think some good managers would go. And to be honest, I think if, say, Company was offered Spurs or something like that, I think Company would make the decision based on whether he thinks he's ready. And I think we said that you know, his wife had said that he won't go to City unless he thinks he can do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, because
he's not sentimental.
I don't think he'd want to necessarily go to Tottenham or Chelsea unless he thought he was ready to do the job.
Yeah. I don't think he walks into. I think if Pep went tomorrow and City went, fancy the job, Vinny, I think he says no.
You might be right. He clearly, I listened to an interview with him yesterday, a half-hour interview with him, and he clearly expected getting Burnley back to the Premier League and rebuilding was, you know, he said he thought they'd be getting back in the Premier League in 3 to 4 years. So he clearly went in to rebuild from the bottom, change the way they play, change their complete team, and, you know, had a view that it was going to take a few years. I think the biggest danger, honestly, for him is that they could go up 1 year too soon or something and could go up and come back down and have to go up again to keep themselves in the Premier League. I think that's their biggest danger. They've come so good so fast.
Yeah, by the way, Rico, good luck tomorrow. I hope you smash Spurs. By the way, Alex, it wasn't Alan who said it was me. Bloody hell, Alan's even getting my credit now. Jesus.
Well,
Alex, it was not Alan. It was me who said it. Sorry, I restarted. I was late, but Alan is right. That should have been Martin is right. You guys are crazy. You don't see what he's saying. Alvarez is not going to want to sit on the bench. That's facts. Look at Jesus. He left because of game time.
After
good night
5.5 seasons.
Martin, we haven't mentioned the bus yet.
What bus? What?
The bus.
That brick
got
not
going down that road.
The brick got blown off the window.
All I'll say is it has to stop, or we're going to end up in an empty stadium or no away fans. I understand they're annoying. I get it. So I get it's annoying. I get it's the peeing you off, but promise you we will end up behind with no away fans, or we'll end up in an empty stadium. 2 wrongs don't make a right. That's just my opinion. Just because they've smashed our bus don't mean we should then throw one back at them. What's the next thing? Someone stabbed someone's thing. We need to end it now.
Yeah.
It has to end. I know it's annoying. I know they're annoying little sods. I get it.
It's only going to end when the Merseyside police force actually are prepared to take action against their supporters, because that's the trouble. Is there is
it's been reported to the police, Andrew.
Yeah, you get that situation, and it has to be addressed. You cannot have, a group of supporters allowed to keep doing stuff game after game after game, and the police not doing anything. And I reckon Merseyside police, this is a message to them. They have got to start taking the action, and then this can be put to bed. This can be put to bed.
And stop putting the bloody bus routes out online. Jeez, keep the bus routes quiet. I understand it's great having your little parade in, but come on. I've been in that. I have been at Anfield when that has been on. As a City fan, because they have a house that I don't know if anyone's ever been to Anfield. They have a house that they converted into a pub. Or it might just be a house that serves beer. Don't know how they got away with it, but there's a house that serves pub. And they're all outside it, all getting drunk, and the bus comes down. It's literally the narrowest road you've ever seen. Rich Ozzy, I don't know if you've ever been to it. The narrowest bloody thing going. And they're all there. Thousands of them.
It also comes down to the FA and Premier League, though, to grasp this problem. Do you know what I mean? Because it is getting worse. It is only going to get worse. And personally, I think you can try and make the suggestions to the fans, don't do this, don't do that. But there is always going to be a section of fans that are going to behave badly, because you get them in every club. There's always a small set who make it worse for everybody else. But until you come down hard and start putting in proper consequences, you're going to keep on getting these actions. I mean, I think until you start seeing, because I think if you're thinking that people are going to end up injured or worse, then I think you need to start going points deduction, removed from certain competitions and stuff like that. Because until it actually hurts the club and the players, you will still get these idiots. And that may be controversial to some people to think, well, you're going to hurt everybody. Well, I'm sorry, but sometimes it may come down to you have to police your own fans, but the fans have to police their own supporters. And go, we're not going to tolerate this.
Yeah, I get what Blue Art's saying. I get, as fans, emotionally, you want to go screw them. They've done it. Well, I get it, and you wouldn't turn a blind eye. I'm just saying that all we're going to do is go down a road where it'll go tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for... I mean, like I said, there was children at Anfield this year. There was children coming out crying at the City.
No, I fully agree, but that's why...
thrown on them.
That's why...
You don't want the 80s style.
Yeah.
Not the 80s.
Martin, I fully agree with you, but that's why the Merseyside police
have to do something.
Cannot sit back and watch what happened to our coach and then say, even though they stood next to the people doing it, and say, we didn't see anything. They say we didn't see anything. Now, some of those people were throwing stuff within a metre of the police. Police could have reached out, grabbed them, arrest, done.
That's the problem, Rick.
They had CCTV.
They recognise their English, mate.
They had CCTV of people, many of them without masks on. Can't find anyone with CCTV. Now, that means they haven't looked.
There was a video of a person throwing it there, and they went, there's no evidence. What?
And that's the thing. If you don't take action, then the fans will do it again, and they'll do it more because they think they get away with it.
I don't want to spend too long because, like someone said, we just have to use our sense. It's not easy. I know it's annoying, but we don't want anyone we love hurt in the middle of it. Like me, I take my 12-year-old, 13-year-old to the games. I don't want him in the middle of that. I know it's not great, but yeah, we're trying to make it a family sport. We can't try and make stadiums all standing, build them nice, and then throw back the 80s. And that's to all football fans, not just City and Liverpool. Everyone has to stop. Or we're going to end up back in the Stone Age again. I know it's hard. I know we got a little bit of revenge, but someone has to be the bigger person.
Yeah.
So you know, I'm not being funny. This is how wars break out. I'm not saying that dramatic of shit, but this is what it does. When you go tit for tat, tit for tat, tit for tat, and someone just goes, and eventually you go bigger and bigger and bigger until it gets so big, it just goes, you know, massive. And then you can't pull it back. And that's like Ozzy said, that's when the Premier League go, all right then. But the police and the authorities need to do something. The government, and this is why City wanted all the white paper and everything in, because they wanted to start governing. They wanted, instead of the Premier League governing themselves, they wanted to get governed in a fair fashion. I know you've got a call coming in, Rich. But anyway, I want to say big thank you to everyone coming on. Ozzy, Rich, you're legends as normal. And yes, we do love each other. Gets a bit heated, but it's all better banter. Alan, thank you for all your help. Alan, stop. That's why you're not on tonight.
We'll see you soon, Alan.
He has to chuck the last little bit in, doesn't he? And he thinks by putting ... in the middle, people don't realise what he's put. Rich, you can deal with him. Me and Ozzy have already dealt with him. It's your turn then. Anyway, we'll be back on Tuesday. I will confirm the time with Andy, but hopefully I think I will double check tomorrow, but Simon Mullock is going to come on and we'll do part 2 of our agenda against the media while we have no midweek game, because I think this could be the last time we have no midweek game for a while. Oh, and by the way, Wembley will go on open sale, so nobody worry about it. There's over 20,000 seats still available. Wembley, stop sticking everyone down to Wembley, to London for the semi-final.
I wish we'd go. I really wish we'd go back to the days where you played the semi-finals out away from Wembley. I know that they do it to pay for Wembley, but how much better atmosphere would you have at one of the big northern?
Do it at Villa Park, do it at Hillsborough, do it at United, wherever. Sending everyone down to bloody Wembley to pay £70-80 a ticket. No offence, and I don't mean this in a really disrespectfful way. Sheffield United is not a big, massive game. So
yeah, imagine. Like,
I feel really bad saying that, and I don't mean it in that way.
But imagine 20,000. Imagine 20,000 City fans, 20,000 Sheffield United fans at Ellen Road, all drinking in the middle of Leeds. You know, getting to that game. Now that would be so much. I mean, I know Sheffield United fans it'd be exciting to have a trip to Wembley, but I'd love to see those games going on at places like Ellen Road. I'd love to see,
Rich, yes.
Tottenham playing Arsenal at Stamford Bridge or at West Ham. You know, getting those games close to home. Close to home.
We've not fallen out, Blue Heart. There's no falling out, mate. Listen, things can get a bit, heated. But listen, if we all came on here, went, Rich, do you agree? Yeah, Ozzy, do you agree? Good night. We're done. Come on. You know what it's like, Blue Heart. Great show. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate it. Please hit the like button on the way out. If you are new, hit that subscribe. I don't know who's going to be on Tuesday night. I've only just found out tonight, so I haven't even asked these two yet. Might let Alan back on if he's a good boy.
What, with the media?
No, Jesus. Thank you.
Yeah.
Alan, you're sitting Tuesday out as well, mate. We'll see you Thursday.
Yeah.
Southampton, know your style.
I think
Good night, everyone.
Alan's busy. Alan's busy on Tuesday night. He's on GB News. So.
What?
And to be honest with you, I reckon we'll probably outrate Alan on GB News.
I'm not bringing Alan on for the media, Jesus. It's just clickbait rubbish. Not having it. Can you imagine Alan with Simon Mullock? So when you write your bullshit papers, you know what I mean? It's like, Jesus,
well, especially is Mullock still writing for the Mirror, or is he? Yeah. So Alan on with a left wing newspaper journalist. Alan would go catatonic if he realised there was a different opinion to the Daily Express.
Daily Mail.
Stop. Who is Justin Guest? Mate, thank you for letting me join this watch. Have you been doing a watch along of our show? I didn't even know you were doing a watch along of our show, but never mind. You want to do a watch along of ours? No, whatever. Look, no, banned. See you Thursday. Southampton. Southampton previews more your level, sunshine.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Justin Guest, take care. All of you. Sub 2. Alan, thank you for all super chats. Blue Art, Alec, Andrew, FIFA, you're all superstars. And I've missed loads out. Smash the like. And yeah, let's march on to 2000. And yeah, City are going to hopefully march on to a treble. Good night. I wasn't even jazz. What the bloody hell was that? Look like someone with no hands there. Anyway, bye.
That was Spirit Fingers.
Oh, that's what my missus called it.